Of the roughly 7,000 languages spoken and signed on Earth, about 500 of them are currently at risk of disappearing as the number of native speakers dwindles. This is the story about one man dispatching an army of volunteers to record these languages before it's too late.
My name is Daniel, and I am the co-founder and director of WikiTongues, a nonprofit powered by more than 1,000 volunteers around the world, working to preserve, promote, and pass on every language to the next generation. Every day, hundreds of volunteers around the world are recording videos.
Justin Etisa.
Etisema eskuniyawa igualicata. Iluchi yoroni.
I help keep track of all of these videos as they're submitted so that they can be reused for educational and cultural purposes. New York is very important to linguistic diversity. New York is, by most statistics, the most linguistically diverse city in the world. There are as many as 800 languages spoken in and around the 5 boroughs. In many cases, it can be easier for communities to maintain their languages here than it is to maintain their languages at home. Today we're going to meet up with WikiTongues volunteers who are going to be taking us through different parts of New York. So we're going to speak Ilocano. Yeah. WikiTongues focuses on recording oral histories, which is a fancy way of saying talking about yourself and your culture. Sometimes people barely talk about their language at all, and they just talk about their daily job, in their language, of course. Sometimes people talk about the history of their language and their culture.
Perkenalkan diri dalam bahasa Aru.
My name is Elvi Goliat. I will speak Aru language. Beta pun nama Elvi Goliat. Beta dari Dobo. Dobo itu di Pulau Aru, tempat beta dilahirkan. Di sana.
The WikiTongues approach is record everything and classify it later. What I do is make sure that all of that content gets tracked and archived so it doesn't get lost and so it can be used for posterity and in the long term.
Servus.
WikiTongues has recorded over 435 languages from over 70 countries. That number changes every day. There are plenty of examples of languages being brought back from the dead. There's Cornish, there's Hebrew, there's Tunica. All of these languages had one thing in common. When the last native speaker died, there were materials for the cultural descendants to bring them back. And so building an open archive of every language in the world is not just a way of ensuring that people today can promote and teach their languages to the next generation. It's a way of ensuring that future generations can revive their languages even if they go extinct.
There are only about 150 speakers of the Ocracoke Brogue now, and they all live on one end of this barrier island on the coast of North Carolina, which is basically an enlarged sandbar. Within the next 50 years, the Brogue will disappear.
Hoi toy on the sign so last night water fart night moonshine, no fish.
The dialect on this island is sometimes referred to as hoi-toiters, which is their pronunciation of high tide.
Hoi-toid on the sign side, high tide on the sign side.
In the United States, the Ocracoke Brogue is probably the only dialect that is not identified as being from America.
I do. I have a lot of people that think I'm from Australia or Ireland, yeah. You can look at these boats and see crabs.
You know, the first people came here from England and Ireland, Scotland, just stayed isolated. I'm from Ocracoke. I am the 10th generation in my family from Ocracoke. That goes back to the mid-1600s.
The reason this dialect was perpetuated for a couple of centuries was because the people were very isolated. They didn't have much contact with people from the mainland. Ocracoke is an island that has always lived around the water.
Got it!
Many of the unique items, particularly the vocabulary items, are built around the water and the sand and the weather.
The wind's blowing really hard. You see, it's blowing harder than a pop car right there, you know.
So you take it a ride around the island, you just take a little scud.
When we come out here and the wind's blowing really hard, and we take a bad beating, then you can say we've been mamaed.
You also find here lots of terms for outsiders.
Y'all are dingbatters. Just
My wife is from Maryland. We've been married 43 years. She's still a dingbatter.
That's not a bad thing, okay?
It was basically the dingbatters who changed the dialect because so many people came in. Even today, there are more off-islanders who live here than on-landers.
Now it's changing, but in time we're all going to lose it, you know, because of so many people coming in. It's a part of heritage that I'm proud of.
Some people think we talk funny. I think that's the way we talk. It ain't funny to us, but it doesn't matter. I mean, that's fine, you know.
Eskahina hispekai wairahina yuha. Mi nombre es Renata Flores, tengo 16 años, soy cantante y estoy tratando de preservar el idioma quechua. El quechua es un idioma de nuestros antepasados, los incas, y también es nuestra cultura. Y este idioma ahora se está perdiendo en el Perú. La gente lo ve al quechua como al símbolo de pobreza o de discriminación. Si se pierde el quechua, también estaría propenso a desaparecer el Perú. Yo comencé cantando canciones modernas en quechua, mayormente para los jóvenes puedan escucharlo, puedan gustarles, ¿no? Y aprender el quechua. Las canciones que hemos traducido en quechua fue el de Michael Jackson, el de Alicia Keys. La canción de Michael Jackson, The Way You Make Me Feel, tuvo más de 1 millón de visitas. Y fue como que, ¡ay, no lo puedo creer! Está viendo cambios al modo de pensar en este idioma, de parte de los jóvenes. Me gustaría enseñar a las personas y seguir con este proyecto del quechua.
Hear that? That is a military code of the Choctaw Nation. Can't understand it? Neither could the Germans. Our story starts on the Western Front during World War I. The Allies are in trouble. The Germans had tapped their phone lines and deciphered their codes. As the Allies struggled to find a solution, one captain overheard 2 of his Native American Choctaw soldiers speaking their mother tongue. When the captain overheard the 2 soldiers speaking their native language,
they probably thought they were in really big trouble.
That's Nuchi Nashoba.
Hi there.
Great-granddaughter of one of those 2 soldiers and president of the Choctaw Code Talkers Association. Around this time, if a Choctaw were caught speaking the language, they were liable to be sent away to a re-education program. But the captain, he had a different idea.
If I can't understand what they're saying, perhaps the Germans won't understand what they're saying.
The US military began transmitting tactical messages in Choctaw, and, unsurprisingly, the Germans could not break the code. Not all military terms had a direct Choctaw translation.
Machine gun Was little guns shoot fast. Ammunition was arrows. And gas was bad air.
And due at least in part to the Choctaw code talkers and their neologisms, the war ended soon thereafter.
When you look at how ironic it is for the government to say you can't speak your language, but yet they use them to help win World War I, that's pretty amazing to me.